Welcome in, everybody. Good morning and hello on this Wednesday. It is Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. And we are so glad you are with us here today on the program. Barry McKnight, of course, handling radio duties for Troy baseball today. The Trojans, of course, in the Sun Belt, part of the Sun Belt baseball tournament, which is being held right here in little old Montgomery, Alabama, down at Riverwalk Stadium, and very proud to host that event here in the capital city. And the Sun Belt fans and teams coming in from all over the Southeast and enjoying what we have to offer here. So glad about that. Barry will be back with us tomorrow, I guess, unless maybe Troy loses today, and then maybe they're playing again tomorrow early in the morning. We certainly hope that's not the case. And the way Troy has been playing this year, you got to think they got a good chance of winning it here today. So, like I said, we'll keep an eye out on that a little bit throughout the program today. But good luck for the Trojans of Troy, and hopefully Barry will be back with us here tomorrow. Mike Griffith, you know, Mike of the AJC and Dawg Nation, he's going to join us here in about 5 minutes. He said he'd be ready to go about 6 after the hour. We always enjoy having Mike on the program, and he's going to join us today. Certainly we're kind of in that slow season, talking season, if you will, but SEC meetings are, I believe, next week down in, I need to comb my hair today, down in Destin. More of a business meeting, so to speak, rather than, well, I guess it is business at media days as well, but there's, a lot more, media type stuff going on instead of nuts and bolts and dollar signs and decimal points and things of that nature. But certainly want to get Mike's thoughts about the meetings down in Destin, because certainly they're going to be talking about the state of college athletics right now, something we've talked a lot about on this program. Are we to a tipping point? Are we to that so-called 18-month period that we talked about? Well, about 18 months ago, when athletic directors were telling their boosters, hey, give us 18 months. Well, I think we're getting close to that point, and it's time for some action. So looking forward to getting Mike's thoughts about that, along with everything else. He's always a lot of fun to talk to and to be a part of here on the program. Man, the chat line, the River Region Straw chat line is popping today. Yeah, Chris, a baseball cap would be nice. Chris, I actually got up a little earlier today and, showered up and even washed the hair and the whole deal. And I thought, man, do I want to put a baseball cap on over this mullet, this dude? I thought, I think I'm going to highlight it today. But I hear what you're saying, Chris. Barry from time to time will throw a hat on as well when he's on the road. But I might do that a little bit more. If I'm on the road, a couple of weeks ago, I was down on the Gulf Coast and the lighting was a little bright, and I probably needed a hat on that day. So I will take your advice there, Chris. I appreciate that, but no hat today for me. I thought I even shaved today. How about that? Shaved, washed the hair. I don't know if the wife thought I was getting the smelling or something, but I don't know. I cleaned up today. So what do you know? Usually on TV days, I clean up, Chris. And obviously you see me on CBS 8 on Wednesday. So I usually, that's my routine, is to make sure I'm really good and clean before I get in front of the TV cameras. Nothing against you guys. I mean, I want to be clean for you guys and gals as well, but that's just kind of my routine. Ty up early today. And Ty, I really don't want to get into this. We're going to get into this in a lot more detail later in the program today about the NBA playoffs. But he's figured it out. Ty's on board with us. He's been watching these playoffs. They've been very exciting to watch. And last night's game was, but Ty says with his early post at 5:49 this morning, man, Ty up early today. If all the games in OKC, in the OKC series go like last night, it'll be done in 4. OKC looks like they will win it all. Ty, a lot of people have said that. They feel like OKC might be the best team in the NBA to be in such a small market and still be one of the better teams. But they were down at halftime. The Thunder was down at halftime last night. I'll leave it at that. I'm excuse me. I'm not going to hang my hat on the fact that the T-Wolves were up at half and then were blown out in the third and fourth quarter, which was the case. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll go 4. I think it'll extend to at least 6. I've heard some people say 7. But OKC looked pretty strong last night. No doubt about that. Elsewhere, the Atlanta Braves did not look strong. And I believe somebody's already, Chris the Bammer's already referenced that today. Good pull, Chris. They're in the nation's capital. Braves playing the Nationals once again. I don't know what it is. Seems like they play them every other week. It just could be me. But the Braves go down last night. The irritating thing about that, from my perspective, is they're not really losing any ground. I mean, they're still 500. They're in a crappy division. I think the leader in that division, the Philadelphia Phillies, 1.5 up on the Mets. The Braves only 6 out at 500. And I'm just thinking, this is not going over well for me here. I need the Braves back double digits out of first place, like the Marlins are, or the White Sox. I don't want to go that far. The White Sox are terrible. Rockies 21.5 out. But something about the Braves, I will admit, the Braves, where they are at 500, 6 out. The Mets have lost 3 in a row. Of course, the Phillies have won 5 in a row, so at least that's a good sign in the National League East. But I see you working there, Chris, and I don't know. I'm a little suspect on that. I'm a little concerned about where that's heading there. And the Braves might. I don't want to go too crazy here. They might take over first place at some point in time in the NL East this year. Maybe, I don't know. I would like them to do it before the All-Star break, because if they do it after the All-Star break, then I'm really going to get nervous. But maybe I shouldn't panic. Maybe I should not hit the panic button just yet on the Atlanta Braves. But they're at 500, and they lose last night. Ty also lets us know that George from Cheers, actually played Norm. He was George Wendt. His character was Norm on Cheers. Died yesterday at 76. I wasn't a huge Cheers fan. I remember that lineup on NBC on Thursday night. I believe Seinfeld might have been on before that. Or maybe that was too soon. Maybe that was before that. Yeah. Cheers was before Seinfeld. Cheers was on. I was in college. Family Ties was on Thursday night, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But I was just never a big Cheers fan. And I know it was an extremely popular show. And I'm certainly familiar with Norm. He'd walk in and everybody go, Norm. So I do remember him. But I don't know. Sad to hear that. And for all you Cheers fans out there, sad day for you. And I know they had some cast changes on that show. So I can't remember all their names in real life. But the female lead left, thought she was going to be a movie star. A new female lead came in. She was pretty good. So help me on the chat line with who those characters were. New bartender. I remember Woody Harrelson came in to be the bartender. I'll tell you this. When Woody Harrelson came on Cheers, I never would have thought he would have had the movie career that he had. I thought he was kind of dumb and dorky acting and sounding. But he really went on to have a great movie career. And one of my daughters actually met him sitting next to him in a restaurant, maybe in L.A. or something, and said he was extremely nice. She just said hello. And so good for him, because I would have never thought that. He was really good in a minor role in No Country for Old Men. Let me take a quick sip of coffee as Griff's coming on here with us on this Wednesday. Mike Griffith of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He's popping up with us here today. There's Griff. Looks like to be in his kitchen area there today. I see the Dawg Nation side. Griff, good morning. How you doing today? Thanks for joining us here on Longshore and McKnight. Barry not with us today, Griffith. Troy has an early Sun Belt Conference baseball game today right here in Montgomery. So he had to he's out a little early today. So it's just you and me this morning.
That sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah. Griff, SEC meetings coming up down in Destin. Great scene, beautiful beaches. Paul out there doing his show with the waves in the background. What's on the agenda? What do you think they want to try to get accomplished down there?
Man, there's a lot of things on the table, but I don't really know what any of us can get accomplished until this House versus settlement thing, or House versus NCAA gets finished. And the longer it takes, the more things keep mushrooming up. I think that's kind of become a part of the story now, is that the judge has dragged this thing out to the point that now there's other issues popping up as different schools are trying to maneuver. I guess you saw Tennessee trying to pass a law to step outside the sports commission that would rule college athletics and try to provide somewhat of a level playing field. To me, the whole thing is frustrating. I know fans are probably frustrated by it, and as someone that follows it, it's really inept. It's disappointing.
It is very disappointing, Mike, and I'm with you. I'm getting a little frustrated. I remember Greg Byrne, about 18 months ago, talking about this very subject and how, you can only go to your big dogs and your donors so many times, whether it's a new building or a weight room or whatever. Now it's focused squarely on NIL. These guys are going to get frustrated, but they said, hey, look, give us 18 months. We really feel like 18 months from now, we'll have a plan in place, guardrails, rule books, the whole deal. I don't see that happening. I still see them scrambling and running in place. And as you said, Mike, it's frustrating for us, the fans, the media, the administrators. I hate to say it, I just don't see a light at the end of the tunnel anytime soon.
Well, there's a question of leadership. Is this something that should be governed by the NCAA? Answer no. A sports commission, well, they're trying. How involved should the courtrooms be? I guess now that amateurism's dead, we're trying to apply regular labor laws to collegiate athletics, and we're trying to come up with a system out of thin air. I mean, amateurism governed this before. There was a system in place, and you start making changes. And, one change leads to another change, and you get all these unintended consequences. And as you go, you continue to build the rule book. But what we're really seeing is a lack of leadership. And unfortunately, it looks like a lack of cooperation. Again, different schools trying to maneuver, avoid governance. Everybody's got to work. This isn't going to work unless everybody's on the same page, and it seems like there's some maneuvering going on late. You saw the front-loaded deals for a lot of recruits this year. Their last opportunity to really get in under the 20.5 before the 20.5 million cap kicks in. I mean, it's unsightly, and it's exactly what college fans don't like and what they used to like about college athletics. So now you're really testing the college fan base and really alienating, and you're really risking losing some fans here, I think.
All right, let me position on this. You talk about frustration, you talk about expense, things of that nature. Some of my Alabama friends shared with me that earlier this week they got an email about away football tickets and how many they were able to purchase and what the price was for those tickets. If you want some Georgia tickets in Athens on September the 27th, I believe it is, those tickets are going to cost you $215 a piece for Alabama, Georgia tickets. Is that sustainable?
Well, I guess my first question is, what did Alabama charge the Georgia fans last year?
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
But actually, that's a bargain because when I looked on the third market, StubHub, I think it's over $500. So, I'd say that's half of what you would get it for if you were trying to buy it, through one of the seat sellers out there. StubHub being one of them. So, I mean, is it sustainable? Yeah. I mean, people are going to pay that. I don't think that's a bad price in comparison with I think the SEC championship game tickets are going for like $450. I mean,
Yep.
this is what it costs, unless you're a student, right? Students still get a break
Sure.
on tickets.
Certainly. Mike, my thing was, why not just put them at 300? I mean, do they really think people are going to go to the Georgia ticket office and protest? I think they're going to buy them. I don't think a $300 ticket's going to say, yeah, I don't know, $215 I'm in, but $300, I can't do that. I'm not in support of gouging the fans, but to me, they're leaving money on the table. Alabama as well.
Maybe, I'm not exactly sure, how the whole ticket structure works. I mean, these days, gosh, everything's expensive. I just went and bought a dishwasher and it was $700. I said, geez, Pete. And what do they only last 7 years now? I mean,
did you install it yourself, or did they install it for you at that price?
We're turning this into the old man shaking the fist at the cloud show quickly here, though. I mean, yeah, ticket prices are expensive, and yeah, the NCAA is dragging their feet. I've got a suggestion for you. I thought about this morning.
Let's hear it.
I was writing about the SEC baseball tournament.
Okay.
And I remember when I covered Alabama and Auburn in the heart of Dixie there. And I couldn't wait to get to the SEC baseball tournament at the Hoover Met. It's a fantastic environment. It was a fantastic event. The games were great. And, I'm writing about it this morning, and I'm thinking, this thing doesn't mean anything. This means nothing. I mean, this is outlived. And I thought to myself, why not play this at the beginning of the year? Why not play this before the conference games get going? Is a way to, boom, kick it off and bring everybody there, to Birmingham. And then it means something, right? Then you see the best pitchers and the coaches that, actually have an interest in trying to win the thing. Because right now, last thing you want to do is you try to go 3 or 4 games deep and then come back and play a regional. Your pitching's out of whack. Your guys are playing another weekend series. To me, that would be the answer. Now, as far as when you would do it and does it conflict with March Madness, I suppose there's some complications there. Well, then play it in the middle of the season, but play it at a point in the season when the results are relevant. Because right now, with the SEC being as powerful as it is, how many teams you got that have clinched probably super regional? 6, maybe 5 or 6. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and it's similar to, Mike, similar to kind of the SEC basketball tournament. There was a feeling that, well, it doesn't really matter because we know how many teams are making the NCAA tournament. Is it going to help their seeding any better if they win the SEC? I see where you're going there. My first thought would be time of year, weather. If you did it in February or March, would it be big of an event? Maybe the teams would be a little bit more into it then than they would now. I get what you're saying. I mean, I definitely see it. And we've used the comparison to basketball to baseball this year. I mean, there was a little this, okay, whatever in the basketball tournament. And I'm with you. It seems to be the same in baseball this year as well, because there's so many teams that already know they're in. Maybe for Alabama, for instance, I think they need to win to get to get a regional, maybe for a team like that. But certainly these others, so what?
Yeah. And then what does it really do to the tournament field and the validity of the result of the tournament? So that's why I say move it into the middle of the season, maybe, if not the beginning of the year. Be a good way to break things up. You don't have an all-star game, not yet, at least. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's coming at some point. That would be kind of fun to have.
The NBA does it in the regular season. They have an in-season tournament or whatnot. I don't know how popular it's become. I know they've had it a couple of years, but you're onto something there, Griff. I hadn't thought about that with baseball. We're in the business of trying to make it as popular and give it as much recognition as we can. A first of the year tournament just might be what collegiate baseball is all about.
Or maybe you have it in the middle of the year after the NCAA basketball tournament's over with to kind of jumpstart the interest in baseball, because a lot of the baseball season seems to get covered up by basketball. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, now what's going on over here? I mean, let's face it, people have a short attention span, and there's only and we only have so much time to consume our sports. I mean, there is so much out there, and whether you watch your podcast or watch my podcast on Dawg Nation or tune into your favorite Major League Baseball team. I mean, there's only so much time for consumption, and a lot of times you don't really realize what's going on. And I say maybe I'm wrong. Maybe today's generation has time to pour through all this. I know when I was a kid, I'd get the newspaper every day and I could read everything right there. But now it's you got to kind of search around for different things. And, if you don't have your social media account set up just right, or your alerts set up just right, you risk missing something in a certain sport. But I guess I would take a look and I'd say, all right, when is March Madness? When is the NCAA Final Four? And I would say, you know what, let's have the SEC baseball tournament right after March Madness in Hoover and bring all the teams together. We'll schedule the league around this, and this will kind of kick off the official kickoff of, TV baseball watching season. Because I think baseball's got the potential in the SEC to become a little bit more of a revenue sport.
I'm with it. Should they couple softball in with it as well? Kind of have a double whammy kind of deal?
Or in successive weeks, something like that. Yeah, that would make sense, because I think the product is so good. I covered the SEC softball tournament in Athens, and I saw play after play. It was amazing, the level of play that I saw. And why wouldn't it be? You had 8 of the top 10 teams playing here in Athens in the nation, and you say, gosh, this thing's harder to win than the NCAA Women's College World Series. And we might say the same thing about the Baseball World Series. In contrast, normally, if all the baseball teams were throwing their best guys, but I doubt that's going to happen, because there's a recent history of teams that have won the SEC baseball tournament not always faring well in the tournament afterward.
Griff, is it a good idea to continue to have the baseball tournament in Hoover? I know our friends in Birmingham don't like to hear me say this. I've been on it for years now. The stadium's in the middle of a parking lot. There's nothing around it. You got to get in the car to go to a restaurant or a bar or a hotel. I can think of some other areas that have a stadium that is closer to all the other things that a city has to offer. Well, what's the deal with Hoover always hosting this event?
Yeah, I don't know that I have I do like the tradition of it, but I would say that, what you would probably want to do is challenge Hoover to change that environment and say, look, there's a tradition for this to be here, but, what about some amenities? What about beefing this up? And what's the value of the tournament to the area? And does the area feel like it's worth investing in to keep that tournament? But again, as is, I don't know what the tickets are going for, or how much demand there is, or how empty the stadium was yesterday or will be today. I know they've had some weather issues. But that's something I think the civic government's got to look at, and something I'm sure Greg Sankey and his staff, as they talk with ADs, and who knows, maybe that's something that comes up at the SEC spring meetings next week. I think in order, and where we started this, and you asking about SEC spring meetings, is, the House versus NCAA settlement is the first domino that's got to fall. And then once that falls, and the proposed rules that had preliminary approval last fall, I think. I didn't realize April 7th was going to turn into a marathon here. I thought this was already, the wheels were already greased for this to get done. And I don't know, I don't understand what the delay is. This is May 20th. Yeah, April 7th was the hearing. Plenty of time for people to, satisfy the judge's request that, roster limitations be grandfathered in. Well, the problem with this is that ship's kind of sailed. When they put down that July 1st date and it received the preliminary approval, everybody's like, well, gosh, better start cutting. Kids started leaving programs, going somewhere else in anticipation of this being passed. Now you're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, saying, well, actually, you can't do that. There's no good way to do that. It's confounding to me. And this, to me, is why you need to put something like this in front of somebody that understands collegiate athletics a little bit better.
Mike, last week up in Birmingham at the Regions Tradition, Kirby Smart was there, Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer, Hugh Freeze, Charles Barkley, a whole host of coaches and celebrities. Hugh Freeze was asked about his upcoming team at Auburn. He mentioned that, we're still rebuilding. It's our third recruiting class. We feel good about it, but we inherited a team that had not had a top 25 recruiting class in 5 or 6 years, which is not true. Gus Malzahn had some, believe it or not, and that their goal is to get to a bowl game. That didn't go over real well with certain Auburn fans, because getting to a bowl game, is that the Birmingham Bowl or is it the Sugar Bowl? Your thoughts about Auburn and Hugh Freeze coming up this fall?
Well, I mean, it is a heavy lift to compete in SEC football now. And, I do think that Auburn, I don't want to say Hugh Freeze had a real heavy list because it is Auburn football, but at the same time, there were some obvious challenges. And I'm not sure how much of a jump a program can make. And when realistically, now the portal, allows for some changes, but nobody's really dominating the portal from what I've seen. I mean, I guess LSU had a pretty good class.
Mm-hmm.
Get what you pay for now. Not sure where Auburn lines up with all these other programs when it comes to its NIL funding. I think it has a relatively challenging schedule. I think it's one thing to say that. I mean, maybe Freeze thinks that. Maybe the administration's told him that. But I don't know that that's something you want to put on blast for public, because every year, every team, every program goes in there trying to win the championship, right? I mean, that should really be the only stated goal, is to try to win every game. But when you start, kind of knocking those goals down and relegating yourself to less, that gives off the wrong impression. Of course, Auburn's going to try to win every game. Of course, they're going to try to win a championship. I think what Freeze is trying to do is control expectations, and that's an exercise in futility. You're not going to do that in today's world.
No, you're not.
Not with the prices that they're charging, as you pointed out earlier.
Yeah, sure. How obviously it's the most important position on the field, and there'll be a new quarterback in Auburn. There'll be a new one in Tuscaloosa. There'll be a new one in Athens.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a new one in Knoxville. There's so many teams in this league. How big is it for LSU to have somebody experienced at that quarterback position? Because in my mind, Griff, everybody's talking Texas and Georgia, that they're going to meet in Atlanta for the SEC championship team. They're the two dominant teams in this league. I have a hard time arguing with that. But when I was asked who's that other team that you think could slide in, LSU's the one that I point to. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot of talent coming back, and when you turn your quarterback, that's a really big deal, because of the continuity. And but now with so many new moving parts, and I haven't looked closely at the LSU portal. I'm not sure what the receiving core, what they returned there, and how much continuity there is, and between the passers and the catchers. But I do think continuity is big. I do think returning production is big, and I do think the influx of portal talent is big. And I'm with you. I think LSU's right there, and I've got questions about Georgia. I saw a recent, I think it was an On3 ranking where they ranked the top 100 players in the nation. They only had two Georgia guys in there, like at number 91 and number 96, a D tackle and a linebacker. Now, you and I know by the end of the year, there's going to be some of that Georgia five-star talent that's going to emerge, and Georgia will probably end up having 4 or 5 guys, but we haven't identified who those guys are yet, whereas other programs bring back more. And you mentioned, Newsmeyer being back at quarterback, and the haul that LSU had in the portal. Clemson, another program that looks primed for great success. And all of a sudden, Dabo Sweeney and his portal model, people aren't laughing anymore. They're looking at Clemson going, man, this program's loaded. In fact, I think they're going to be ranked ahead of Alabama. And the preseason rankings don't mean anything, but they're going to be ranked ahead of where Alabama is. And I don't know, how Alabama feels about that, especially considering Dabo Sweeney didn't even get an interview for that job, which I still question the wisdom of that. But we'll wait and see how that all turns out. To answer your question, I'm with you. I kind of like LSU as well. Texas and Arch Manning. I mean, man, the brand looks good, and the limited times I saw him play, he looks outstanding. But they have a lot to replace. They do have a very easy schedule relative to other teams. That's probably the biggest reason I'd pencil Texas in first and foremost in the SEC title game.
And maybe we might have mentioned this to you before, Griff, and obviously the SEC schedules are the same as they were last year, just the home and away is flip-flop. But Texas and Tennessee, who both were in the college football playoff last year, are the only two teams in the SEC that both play Mississippi State, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. 4 of the worst teams in the league, and those two teams played both of them last year and this year as well. Wonder how that all happened.
Well, according to Kirby Smart, Greg Sankey doesn't do the schedule. He assigns that to some. That was Kirby's line last. Everybody, I saw there. Everybody's making good with Kirby and say, which makes sense, and I appreciate that. I had a chance to catch up with Greg Sankey at the SEC tournament. He drove here 4 hours just to see a rain out. he's a really good guy. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we know he's the smartest guy in the room. We already know that. We know he's been a great commissioner. But beyond that, just getting him one-on-one away from the crowd, he's actually just a really good dude. And it's hard to really be critical of, look, there's going to be winners and losers with every schedule, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
I have a hard time after covering this league, I guess 32 years. I have a hard time, throwing stones at it. I know things don't always work out well, but man, what a great league to cover.
Sure. I mean, would you want to be covering the Big 12? I mean, come on, really? Come on.
This was my career ambition,
Sure.
a long time ago, to cover the SEC. And, it's been everything I thought it would be, whether it was covering Auburn or Alabama or Tennessee or now Georgia, or doing SEC wide show, or, coming on with you, early on a Wednesday morning. This
awesome.
league is, we've always got stuff to talk about. We've always got coaches that, are making news, and student athletes that are, going on to do great things, and the rivalries are, there's just always something brewing. And it's hard for me to explain that, the people, a lot of people I grew up with in Michigan, they're in the Big Ten, and Big Ten, they got it going on too. They got a pretty good thing. But what the difference is it's stratified, because they have all these professional teams in a very, limited area. And so there's so much going on that but with the SEC, and even as the pro teams have come to the South, we've still maintained our level of scrutiny and intensity and focus on SEC sports. So to me, I don't think it gets any better than here. So I say that because I found myself doing, we do a lot of, grousing and complaining and how things are. But man, I wouldn't want to be covering any other league anywhere else.
Me and you both. I totally agree. And, Griff, I've been doing this about 35 years now. And this time of year and through the summer, as I travel around and in other parts of the country, people will say, they'll ask me what I do. I kind of explain it. And they go, well, man, what do you talk about in the middle of the summer? And I look at them and I go, what do you think I talk about? SEC football. Are you kidding me?
It never stops, and now especially, right, with the way recruiting's working. And I saw Georgia had a visitor. One of the football they've had. It's a big busy season, and the kid said it feels like home. And I said, we need a new translation. So what does that mean? Does that lower the asking price, or I mean, how does that fit into the contract negotiation? If it feels like home, that means he's willing to take 25% less than another high. Like, because the money has just become such a thing. And you know what? My question for you, and I guess I'm going to turn the tables on you a little bit.
Sure.
When I take a look at, and I took some heat in Tennessee. Tennessee fans, they got a lot going on. They're hungry to win a championship, just like anyone. But I feel like there's just an extra burn there. I mean, I think that's the toughest fan base in terms of the expectations, the demands, the hunger. And they were talking about the quarterback, Nico, and how he let, he had a contract in place, and because he'd signed that contract, he should have honored that contract and played for that amount of money. And him trying to get another $2 million, well, they just weren't going to put up with that. So they're just going to piss away having a returning quarterback for another $2 million. And I'm thinking, it's another $2 million out of how many hundreds of millions that are invested in and are riding on this program, and you're going to let another. And my point was this: it was just a couple of years ago that their basketball coach Rick Barnes went to him and said, if I don't get more money, I'm going to UCLA.
Yeah.
He had a contract in place. He had a buyout in place. Are we going to come to a day, and this is my question, where the coaches are going to be expected to finish out their contracts before renegotiating? Because if we don't, am I right here? Then players are going to have a right to renegotiate. Where do you sit with that issue?
Well, I'm with you. I don't know if they can do that or get it done, but because there again, as you said before, the toothpaste is already out of the tube, because that's irritated me since the beginning of time. Coach signs a new deal, something doesn't work out, or something better is across the street. Boom, I'm gone. Leaves the players in the school high and dry. Didn't seem right, but it went on and on forever and ever. How they stop that, how they control that, I'm not sure. It's kind of like the subject we talked about earlier today about how do you get a better handle on NIL and transfers. But back to the Tennessee quarterback situation, Griff, I've used this phrase many a time, particularly when it comes to a school like Tennessee. You're a big boy. Act like it. I mean, come on. You just hit it on the head. You're making hundreds of millions of dollars. $2 million is going to cripple you? I mean, really? I mean, come on. Don't give me that drop in the bucket.
I guarantee you the Auburn fans would have ponied up another $2 million to have a returning quarterback like Nico that got him in the playoff and beat 2 out of their 3 rivals, right? I mean,
no doubt about it. Yeah, what do you think Jackson Arnold's making?
Yeah, probably 2 or 3, right? I mean, isn't that kind of the market rate for a quarterback?
Yeah.
So whether he's worth it or not, my point was it's worth it just to have a returning quarterback. And Tennessee fans, they don't want to talk about it anymore. They're ready to move right now. They are now. If it gets to November and they've got 2 or 3 losses, then their administration is going to hear about this decision and really get called into question. My point was if you wanted to get rid of the guy, you should have done it in December. I mean, he was your number 1 all the way through spring, and now you're telling me he's a bad guy. Nobody wanted him. I mean, that something's.
And I get that, Tennessee got their feelings hurt, and it looked bad. Here's a player coming back after he'd agreed to something, wanting more. I mean, let's face it, that's the business world. I mean, I did it so many times when I was in radio. Every time my contract came back up, I was wanting more money. And we'd sit there and haggle and go back and forth about it. Well, we just paid you this amount 2 years ago. I said, well, that was 2 years ago. And today you got to pay me this if you want me to stick around. So, I think Tennessee just kind of got, their feelings hurt a little bit. They should have toughened up, sucked it up, and paid the kid because, if they go 7-5, 8-4, as well as I do, Griff, those Tennessee fans are going to be screaming on Rocky Top. I mean, it doesn't matter they made the playoff last year. We sucked this year, and it's all because we got nitty with $2 million and we don't have a quarterback.
And the quarterback position is different than the other ones. I mean, other positions can play other guys and get guys ready and substitute, but it's you got one guy flying the plane, right? One guy flies the jet. And that quarterback controls so much, not just on the field, but like Billy Napier was talking about in one of the secrets to DJ Lagway, they control the culture in the building. And is almost, right next to the head coach is the face and the quarterback is right there. I mean, that's the next up. So to me, this is a relationship that of all the relationships, the coach and the quarterback have got to be on the same page. And the fact that it got to that point, whether you agreed with paying the kid or not, was a failing, right? Yep. So the lesson learned was as long as there's 2 portal windows and as long as that kid's got that option to transfer after the spring, that's leverage. You got to have this quarterback deal locked into place by the end of the first portal window. And, some people, you saw Nico didn't get any money. Well, that's because all the teams that really needed quarterbacks filled that need in December. So the market was scarce. And it's also why Tennessee had to get a guy really that had just transferred from Appalachian State to UCLA. He wasn't even there for a cup of coffee, and now he's going somewhere else. He was 5-6 last year at Appy State. Yep. I mean, that's not a better situation. They're not better off. So somebody saved $2 million, but the football program, the teammates, the fans, the culture, they're not better off, and they're paying a luxury tax on top of the ticket to procure talent. So isn't this what that money was for? So the whole thing to me is maddening, and anybody that tries to rationalize it, there's an element to this missing, but it's kind of a sign of the times. It was going to happen somewhere.
Yes,
a player was going to hold out, a player was going to leave, everybody's learning from it, everybody's taking notes. That'll be discussed in the hallways. But what about legislation? What about rules? What can you do? Again, the first domino's got to fall, and I really don't know what this judge in Northern California, of all places.
Oh, I know it.
Not exactly a hotbed of collegiate athletics.
Not at all.
Why does the judge understand that as time goes by, this thing just keeps mushering more problems, more issues, more complications? I mean, there's something to be said for a case being settled in a reasonable, and this is after 5 years of litigation. That this is where we're at, and a preliminary approval in the fall, and an April 7th hearing. And my goodness, what is the holdup?
I'm with you. What's taking?
Where's the outcry? Is there anybody else saying this? Because I'm looking around like everybody else is kind of sitting on their hands. I'm like, when does the heat go on the judge saying, "Hey, Let's get a rule. Let's go. Let's get this thing on. I mean, you asked for this. They filed this. Make a ruling. I mean, is it one
should not take this? They're again dragging their feet. I think everybody's getting frustrated from college presidents down to the fans. Enough, and we need some structure and some leadership more than anything. Leadership, no doubt about it. Would Nick Saban be that guy? Should he? The president.
You read my mind, and I'll say this: I was so happy to see him get an Emmy for what he did on television, the Sports Emmy. It just goes to show you, and a lot of times, people are successful in their own realm, in their own world. Nick Saban is an example of a guy that could be successful at anything that he does because of the work ethic and because of the way he structures his life and his goals. I mean, there's a reason, you can say what you want about how Alabama got talent or whether you think they paid for players or whatever you want to say.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, Nick Saban was the best coach of his era in college football. He took advantage of whatever situation, which is what winners do, right? This is how you win games. You go to the gray area, you push to the max, you get great talent around you, you lead, you have a vision. And the way Nick approached television, you and I both know he didn't just show up on that set. You know that he was prepared every time he went on there. He had things that he wanted to say. The way he interacted with the other co-hosts, he gauged them and his ability to be persuasive or dominant over them. I mean, put Nick Saban in a room, and he's going to emerge as the leader. So I don't know if he has any interest in leading college football. I did note he was paired with Tommy Tuberville, a politician. Kind of makes me wonder if something was cooking there as far as, maybe, they're trying to convince Nick to get a little bit more involved and how this might work with the government if there is that sort of oversight, which is what we're probably going to need at some point for college sports to settle down. But, it's my hope that Nick Saban, decides he wants to save college football.
Yeah.
And help restructure. That would, to me, would be the icing on the cake for what's already been an unbelievable career.
It would be icing on the cake. That would be very, very interesting to see. And it looks like the current president would like to see that as well. We'll see how it plays out. Griff, before I let you go, the one thing that personally I want to know, because I've been banging this drum for a while, Barry not so much into it as I am. At the meetings in Destin next week, will they decide on the SEC having a 9-game conference schedule in football?
I think yes, but not officially, because, going back to that, and people are so tired of hearing it, so forgive me. I'm going back to that House versus NCAA settlement. Once that domino falls, I think from there, then you look at perhaps an expanded 16-team playoff. And then once that domino falls, you look at the automatic bids. And then once that domino falls, then yes, the SEC says, okay, now we'll play 9. Because you showed us last year, and maybe it was an outlier, but I don't think so. You showed us last year that you're not going to give the SEC credit for playing a difficult schedule, because you left out 3-loss teams that were all better than SMU. Every single one, not even close. They would have beat SMU by 3 touchdowns. You left out a good Ole Miss team that probably would have been the most dangerous SEC team in the playoff, the way they were playing at the end of the year. You left out a South Carolina team that had just beaten Clemson, who got in, through being the ACC champion. And you left out an Alabama team, that had beaten Georgia earlier in the year and had shown some upside. And I know they didn't finish well late, but if you looked at their schedule, it was ridiculous. So to me, you had 3 very deserving teams that got left out by that committee. I'm still trying to figure out why they felt the need to put SMU in after they lost their conference game. I really, the Dallas television market's the only thing I can come up with. There really wasn't. It was a bad argument for SMU to be in from the start. There was nobody that believed SMU. I'll never forget on the conference call, when I asked the CFP selection committee chairman, Ward Manuel, what about the eye test? Do you ever wonder, like, when you're comparing these teams, who would win? No, that doesn't come into play. Just throw the deck of cards up in the air then. I mean, my God, that's exactly that's what it's supposed to be about. You're supposed to be experts. And yes, you do look at data, but that data is what gives you an idea of which team is better. But you know what else does? your brains. You're
Yes.
supposed to be able to watch football and understand the game enough to say, oh, this team's clearly better. And then we look for the supporting data. And then we consider that, oh, well, they play in this conference. So maybe the run defense allows 5 yards per game less, but they're playing a horrible schedule compared to this league over here. I mean, this is just, it's maddening because it's common sense, but it's being manipulated, I believe, by people who are trying to make more money via the television ratings.
Well, I'm with you there. And that's a whole another subject altogether because, people ask us about, why is this team and why is that team and why is our team not on TV, blah, blah, blah. To me, Griff, it's like the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys can't win a playoff game. Heck, they don't make it to the playoffs, but they're on Monday night as much as you can get them, or Sunday night, or the 3:25 window on Sunday afternoon, because America loves the Cowboys. And, whether you're good or not, it's just the brand that you have there. And it is. If the television networks, they see those ratings and those numbers and those dollar signs clicking, your one-loss record doesn't matter. It's how much revenue and how many eyeballs you bring to the screen.
No doubt. And, a lot of programs, have been able to overcome that by winning. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, what is that, the number 4 television market there in Dallas, Fort Worth? And, you mentioned the Dallas Cowboys, or we talk about SMU, which is in Dallas as well. I mean, this is partly why. And we see it sometimes, and we're getting ready to see, some regionals being put out there, and baseball in terms of how they slot the teams. And, there's always a little bit more to it in terms of who gets in and who doesn't. It seems like they want to provide some geographical balance and force it down our throats. Maybe saw that a little bit with the college football playoff committee and how that was structured this first year. It'd be interesting to see if they do move forward with just seeding the teams, irregardless of how they did in their championship game. And then one more thing that could be talked about is the potential for play-in games. If the SEC does have automatic slots, do we want to see a round of playoffs? Because to me, I understand that's more high-profile games and more money, but then we're kind of robbing the regular season of its relevance. And that's the thing about college football that we always said we loved, was that every weekend was a playoff. And now it's like, well, actually, no, it's not. The playoffs, perhaps at the end of the year when you play these play-in games for 4 slots, if this proposal, gains some momentum. And then what happens to the SEC championship game? Does it even exist anymore? Do the top 2 teams get a bye, and then you have, 4 teams playing off for 2 slots? So there's a lot of things that are being reimagined and restructured, and along the way, and I get it, you don't want to be a prisoner to tradition, but at the same time, you don't want to take away the essence. And in my opinion, I don't think you want to take away the essence of what college football has been and what's made it so special.
Yep, you're right. It is special, and I think you would lose some of that uniqueness if you expand that play-in type stuff, because as you mentioned, Griff, the every week it's a playoff in the regular season of college football, especially here in the SEC. Griff, man, I could go on all day with you. It's always a lot of fun and very interesting. I love your analysis and your take on college athletics. We love having you on the program. Thank you for the extended time today. I know we'll see you soon. I know we'll see you in Atlanta over at Media Days in mid-July. But, man, thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate you hopping on with us today.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure thing, Griff. Appreciate that. Mike Griffith of Dawg Nation, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Always a lot of fun with Griff. He's got so many great takes. We greatly appreciate that. We are way behind on a break. Gurn Jr. tells me we might have to double up on our breaks here for our first of the day, but that's okay. Probably take another one at the top of the hour as well to get things settled in. Just to let you know what we got going on here today, I believe Gurn Sr. is going to hop on. Maybe it's story time with Gurn Sr. today on the program. No telling what he's got up his sleeve today. CJ Duncan will not join us today because CJ is on his honeymoon. How about that? Congratulations to CJ Duncan and his new bride. I believe they're overseas, and CJ will join us next week. So that was made room for Gurn Sr. to hop on with us today. Will Fisher, the director of golf at Capitol Hill on the RTJ Trail, at the bottom of hour number 2. Will's going to give us his thoughts about how the PGA Championship played out at Quail Hollow. Also, some other golf notes we'll check on with Will about. Also today, we have got the Phantoms Daily Dog. We got Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland 777 topic wheel. So many other topics we're going to get to today. And also, FanDuel released some early lines for week 1 in college football. We'll talk about those as well. But let's catch up on a break. It is break time. Let's take one here. It is Wednesday here on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Make sure you're loaded up with plenty of Bud Light for this upcoming Memorial Day holiday weekend. Also, our good friends at Yellow Hammer News and yellowhammernews.com. You can check out Longshore and McKnight there. There's always a write-up every afternoon about the show. And, of course, a great content on politics, news, lifestyle, sports. It's all there for you at yellowhammernews.com. Known by avid golfers as one of the most beautiful and challenging stops on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, Cambrian Ridge in Greenville lies just 40 miles from Montgomery. It is well worth the ride for any golfer looking for 27 holes of jaw-dropping golf. The greens have been redesigned to accommodate the higher green speeds associated with their installation of the latest generation of ultra-dwarf Bermuda grass. Cambrian Ridge offers a fully stocked pro shop with all the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge for tee times and more information.
The following is a message from the Bud Light Party.
This Memorial Day, America will be using 82 metric tons of sunscreen. And around 2 p.m., Uncle Dave's going to ask you to help him reapply. So make sure you're holding on to an ice-cold Bud Light, because holding on to a beer might be the only thing saving you from a palm full of back hairs. This message approved by the Bud Light Party. Raise one to right now. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Marianne is with us at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Gosh, there's a lot of things going on at Marguerite's right now. Marianne, give us an example or two.
Sure. Okay. Well, it's crazy. Tons of things are going on. We've got graduations coming up, lots of different anniversaries. We've had tons of upgrades or people getting engaged. Of course, Marguerite's has an amazing selection of diamonds, loose and mounted. We've had some people wanting to come in and needing to get engaged on the spot almost. And guess what? We have an in-stock jeweler, so we can make that happen for them.
How has Earring Fest gone? I can imagine that it has been spectacular, Marianne.
Yes, Earring Fest is great. We have tons of selections, more than honestly we've ever had before. Dangles, hoops, studs, you name it, we've got it.
What about for the graduate? A lot of, like you mentioned, a lot of people are graduating or are about to graduate. What's the go-to? What's been the most popular graduation gift?
Well, go-tos, of course, I'm thinking maybe the baby cross. It's beautiful. It's small. I have it. And a lot of people get turned off. They're like, baby, no, this is like for a graduate. But it's just a smaller cross, delicate, something you can have forever, as well as solitaires. Diamond by the yards are great because it's a wonderful layering piece, something that they could wear through sorority recruitment if they're going to do that. And we also have lots of strands of pearls, a classic gift that they can wear in graduation or any of the senior pictures. And watches and cufflinks for guys. We have those in stock, and they're wonderful pieces instead of just, giving them a Dillard's or Visa gift card. Makes it special.
One more question I've got about it. What about those people who at this time of the year, they really like to get into their jewelry boxes or look in the back of the drawers? It's time to do maybe some late spring cleaning. Right. Can they trade up some of those jewels?
Of course, yes. There's no reason for jewelry to collect dust, especially if Marguerite's is right around the corner or within driving distance. You just load it up. It doesn't matter if you're not sure if it's costume or not. Bring it in. We can test it for you. There's absolutely no charge to that. And then we'll give you an amount that we can write you a check for, or you get times and a half if you want to trade those items in and get something new, or we can always renovate those pieces and make a custom piece like we did for your sweet wife.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a piece that they could wear and always treasure.
You can always tell how much it means to Marianne to be able to help, because she helped with that piece for my wife 3 or 4 years ago, and she still takes pride in it. So does Marianne. Anytime she gets a chance to help. Marianne, you mentioned that it's very conveniently located, Pepper Tree Center next to Chappie's Deli on Vaughn Road, and the hours are convenient as well.
Definitely. We're open 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
Gosh, go by Marguerite's. No reason not to let them help you with the wonderful gift-giving opportunities everybody has in their life. Go to Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Thanks, Marianne.
Thanks.
Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 5 or 6 minutes until the top of the hour. As I mentioned in hour number 2, Will Fisher, Director of Golf at Capitol Hill, at the bottom of that hour. CJ Duncan out of the country today, so he'll be back with us next week. Barry is at Sunbelt Conference Baseball. Troy, first pitch, I believe, is in about an hour. If you're watching us live today, but 9 a.m. first pitch at Riverwalk Stadium down in downtown Montgomery. So Barry will be back with us tomorrow, I believe, unless Troy loses today. If the Trojans lose today, I think he's got a 9 o'clock game again tomorrow, but I don't see that happening. I think the Trojans are going to win this one today. They're the 3 seed, I believe, in the Sun Belt tournament. Wow, what a great segment with Griff. Man, we could go on all day with Mike Griffith of Dawg Nation, and looking at the chat line. People will certainly enjoy that. Our Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry email inbox, which is Longshore and McKnight at gmail.com. Also is a good way to communicate with us here as well. And whether you're watching on yellowhammernews.com or at Facebook or YouTube or on X, Spotify, so many great ways to check us out and to, of course, take in our content. And if you subscribe and hit the like button, which we highly recommend, you'll always receive a notification about any new content that has dropped. And I know you want to be on top of that as well. There's great little snippets on Instagram. Our good friends at Yellowhammer News put those together for us each and every day, and they send those out, just a little, 10, 15-second snippet of what was a little highlight of the show each and every day, as well as the Phantom's Daily Dog. If you happen to miss the Phantom's Daily Dog, they send that out each and every day as well. Some of the times the Phantom does not hit. That just happens. That's the nature of the business. We'll get into that more in the next hour. Now, Brett, coming on now, I see in the green room is Gurn Sr. I don't know if he can top the appearance of our last guest this morning, Mike Griffith, but I know he's certainly given his best shot. Gurn, how's it going today?
Great. How's everybody today? Man, that was a great segment. He's a professional.
Yeah.
I am not a professional. I just merely play one on TV. And that's a lot of good insight from Griff on Georgia and the SEC and the meetings and everything else. I was thoroughly educated throughout that process.
Educated and entertained. That picture behind you is not doing you any justice because you had a lot of hair back in.
Hair and 60 pounds. How about that?
Oh, come on. Really?
No. Wow. Oh, yes.
Man.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Will,
what's on your mind these days, John? What have y'all been focused on the most?
Well, I'll tell you, you're probably going to be surprised about this. The president was talking earlier this week about the Olympics are coming, and it's the 250th anniversary of our nation and all this type of stuff. And I was thinking about the Olympics. They're trying to get flag football in the Olympics with NFL stars participating. Owners meeting yesterday in Minneapolis. The owners said, yeah, we're in. Sounds great. I'm not real sure how that's going to be conducted on an Olympic format and what other countries know about flag football. It kind of goes.
Every country has a team. Right now, every country has a team. It's a big deal in Europe, especially. And what's interesting, what the NFL has done, and if you look at it closer, Jacksonville may be the smallest market, and they have adopted London as their sister city. And I think they're playing at least two games there this year. They have a full office with, I think, 100 or 200 people working there. The Jags do. And so they have, NFL and the Jags have a flag football league for kids that's got thousands of kids in it. And that's the way they're growing the game. And so
interesting.
If you go to London, I've been told, and they're, Trevor jerseys all over the place. I mean, it's just, that's their market. They know they can't grow anymore in Florida. They're expanding to London, and they're making a killing off of it. So
yeah, just for the record, they only have one game overseas this year. The Vikings actually have two games overseas instead of the Jags, but nonetheless, I'm with you because they played a lot of games overseas, and I've heard something similar to, they realized we've kind of saturated our market here. I mean, not only are they fighting the Dolphins and the Buccaneers, they got to fight Florida and Florida State.
Yeah, and Jacksonville's a great town, but it's not it's little known fact, it's the largest city in the country.
That's true.
Landmass.
I got that. What was that?
Landmass.
What was that game? That trivia game that was popular back in the day with the card?
Trivial Pursuit.
I stumped somebody on that one. The largest city in America, and they're thinking New York, Houston, Chicago, LA. I went, no, it's Jacksonville, Florida. Come on.
But John, it's not fair when you only pick the orange categories because you didn't know the rest. Okay, I mean let's just be honest. Okay, that's the game was short when you had to get out in the other colors.
That's true. That is a fact. That is true. So the reason they encompass the entire county. That's why they go by Duval, I believe.
That's right. So, but back to look, here's the deal. LA gets to pick a sport, or the US, LA gets to pick a sport to put in there because they're the host team. And they picked, flag football. And flag football is huge. I mean, I think it'll be girls flag football will be in the next 5 to 10 years will be on par with a lot of small school football. It's a big deal.
Yes.
And you'll see scholarships, you'll see programs. If we have Title IX anymore, it's still something you'll see in colleges. I think you're starting to see them in colleges. So, it's a popular sport. I think it's a one and done in the Olympics, and it'll allow some NFL players to win a gold medal. Cause this is worse than the dream team. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean,
yeah, sure.
Can you imagine? It's like when the dream team played South Sudan. I mean, it was just, it's bad. So we'll see.
Let me ask you this then. Where I was really pivoting towards, I'm amazed. Maybe it'll happen before the Olympics get here, but I'm amazed with the popularity of pickleball. It is not an Olympic sport yet.
Well, it's not as much an international sport. As I reach back to show my new Selkirk that I just got in there. It's starting to get some legs in other places. It is big in the U.S. obviously, and it's something we've been doing for a while now. But it's I think you'll see it probably in the next 10 years have more of an international player. It's gotten really big in Australia. They've got a professional league down there. A little bit in Europe. But look, it's crazy. As I tell people, we love it. We play it 3 or 4 times a week. Don't start if you don't want to get addicted. It's just one of those things. Let me ask you this. And I know you do play a lot of pickleball, and I don't know. I guess I could have Googled this, but I'll ask you since you do play. I played a couple of times, but I've always played double pickleball.
the wife and I are going to an undisclosed location in a couple of weeks, a little R&R getaway. And I noticed where we're going, they have pickleball courts. Can you play singles pickleball, or is it a doubles?
Absolutely.
Is it a doubles court?
There is singles. It's very much like tennis singles, but people don't do it as much. It's not as social. It's a strange sport in that it's actually better with doubles, and it's actually weird that men and women can compete at pretty much the same level. And so that's kind of makes it, you can go to a facility somewhere, put your paddle down and play with a man or a woman. And, the woman could easily be much better than the other guys. We have that all the time.
Yeah.
So, yes, you can. But I will say this, I think I know the facility you're going to, I recommend wearing clothes. And I know you go to those kind of facilities because it's not easy to run when you're not clothed. Okay.
Well, and then, you could get a shot, a little low shot to the groin area. That could be tough.
You could. It's there's all kinds of possibilities.
There is. Plus, you got to worry about the suntan as well.
Suntan. Well, you're filling in some areas that hadn't seen sun in a while. So
you got that right. So in playing pickleball, I did play once, and my wife was on the other team. We kind of swapped. So my friend, we had a little wife swap, if you will. And I was playing with my friend's wife, and my wife was on the other team. So we're going back and forth and hitting it. And I got one that's coming. I'm thinking, I'm about to rip this one. And I really kind of hit it a little harder. I didn't mean to, but it was a little harder. Hit the wife right in the arm. That didn't go over real well. Just the competitive juices came out. The ball would have been in anyway. There's no doubt it would have been in.
Let me give you a tip because I saw this firsthand. We have a mutual roommate who also sometime advertiser on this show who hit his wife one time and did not apologize, but got excited. That is not good. That's not good for the home team. Okay.
I understand.
And I explained that to him as she gave him what would be called the death stare.
Sure.
And I'm sure he heard about it later. So.
Well, we were actually playing with that couple when this happened. When accidentally hit it.
Like I said.
Yeah.
Now,
Kevin, I know what you're thinking. Kevin on the River Region Straw chat line. Yeah, it's a different type of wife swap, Kevin. We were on the pickleball court. Yeah,
that's
definitely
right.
there. So
that's right.
I'm looking forward to maybe pickleball becoming an Olympic sport. I've been wondering that. That was on one of my predictions, Gurn, years ago. This Friday, I will predict what I believe is going to happen over the next 12 months in the world of sports. I do throw in a little politics in there as well, and then I'll recap what I predicted last May 20, whatever day it was, because I always do it the Friday before Memorial Day weekend. So I'll go back to see how many of them I was right on, how many of them I missed, and then I'll make some predictions for the next 12 months. I made a prediction maybe 2-3 years ago that pickleball would be an Olympic sport. That is yet to happen. So I'm a little disappointed about that.
Well, that's okay. Let's just, the question is, will your predictions involve, will Auburn have a new football coach?
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. You have to tune in Friday.
I don't want to give anything away.
Don't want to give anything away. But that will be on Friday. We'll talk about that in terms of predictions. Speaking of the Auburn coach, last week up in Birmingham at the Regions, he said they hadn't had a top 25 recruiting class in over 4 years, and that their goal is to make a bowl this year. That didn't go over real well with the Auburn fan base. Maybe he wanted to phrase that a little differently after he thought about it. I think maybe he'd just gotten off the course. He looked a little hot and sweaty. Gus Malzahn did have some top 25 classes, even though he didn't recruit extremely well. They were top 25s. I want to say they were top 10, actually. And getting to a bowl is not going to cut it unless it's maybe a New Year's Day bowl. I think if Auburn goes to the Birmingham Bowl, that ain't going to cut it over on the Plains.
Well, you've probably looked at their schedule.
Yep.
Is that part of your predictions, or what's your general thought? You don't have to give specific numbers, but I've looked at it and it's an interesting schedule.
It is an interesting schedule. I'm with you. And I've already talked about this, and we were going to kind of maybe touch on this later today in the program about the toughest 3-game stretch for every team in the league. And my toughest 3-game stretch for Auburn is in late September, early October, when they're at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, and then Georgia comes into Jordan-Hare. In my mind, those are the 3 toughest games in a row for Auburn. And if they can get by those, Gurn, maybe something special can happen.
I'm gonna disagree with you. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna take a different look at this. So once they get through those games, that gets them to 7 games roughly, right? So
well, Missouri will be their 7th game, I believe.
right. So
Yeah.
After their 7th game, if they've had a good year, they're gonna be 5-2.
Okay.
Or and an average year be 4-3. I think the next 3 games, while they're not the toughest, are the most important, because at that point you're going, look at it. I'm 5-2. I've now got Arkansas, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. These are all 3 teams that my constituency thinks I should beat, right?
Okay.
Although Arkansas, it's at Arkansas and at Vanderbilt, and we know the history of Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like a make or break stretch if the year has gone well.
They don't need to drop one of those 3. I agree with you. Those
they've
are
got to
all
win
3
those
winnable
3
games.
But think about this. If they somehow go 5-2 in their first 7 games, Jackson Arnold's playing well. They've got a good defense going. They've won. They lost to Georgia. They maybe lost to A&M. They beat Baylor. They've got that going for them.
Sure.
They've got these 3 games that if they win, they're 8-2 going into Mercer. That makes it 9-2. And then they got Bama, probably for a playoff spot.
Could be.
I mean, what kind of season would that be if they're 9-2 with a chance? Yep. Wouldn't you think a 2-loss Auburn team going into the Bama, if they beat Bama, they're in? I mean, I would think they have
I
to
would
be
think so too, and that's why I say if they can get by the 3 games that I mentioned, they just can't, as I said earlier in the week, poop the bed after that. I wanted to use a harsher word, but I'm trying to grow up and mature a little bit. And what I mean by that is, yeah, really. What I mean by that is they can't lose at Arkansas, Kentucky. They can't lose one of those. If they lose one of those, the fans will just go ballistic because they've built that momentum up, made it through that gauntlet of Oklahoma, A&M, and Georgia to some degree of success. They can't lose one of those games because you're right. That Iron Bowl could be for a lot. There could be a lot at stake for both those teams. In that game at the end of November. Could be a lot at stake in that game. So
Jackson Arnold's got to play well. But if Jackson Arnold gets hurt or doesn't play well, you got a freshman. And you say I assume it's a freshman, right?
Yep.
Deuce Knight. Yep. Is it Deuce Knight?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know who it is, but I guess that's who it is. Man, that's a tough road to hoe.
Well, you might have, you've got a freshman in Tuscaloosa as well if the heir apparent doesn't perform as expected or hoped, I should say, because obviously with the Crimson Tide, and we'll let you know, I thought this was interesting. We can go ahead and morph into this with the Crimson Tide. I mentioned FanDuel yesterday released some point spreads for week 1.
I'm gonna make a guess. I'm gonna make a guess on Alabama FSU.
Well, let me ask you about Auburn first, since we're talking about Auburn.
Auburn is at Baylor. Auburn's at Baylor
on a Friday night.
I'm gonna say it's a 2-point either way, and I might even go Baylor just because of the home being at home. But what's the spread?
Auburn is a 2.5-point favorite.
Okay.
At this moment at Baylor in Waco on a Friday night. I'm okay. I'm good with that. I can see Auburn as a favorite here.
That's an SEC line to me. That's I don't know that either party has earned that position for that. But the guys in Vegas know what they're talking about. So,
as you well know, they're throwing something on the wall and see if it sticks. And 2.5 is where they are. As for Alabama, who opens up on a Saturday afternoon on the road,
I think that's going to be a 7.5 Bama at Florida State.
Florida State, who was 2-10 last year, hosting Bama, going to be hot. August 30th in Tallahassee at 2:30. Ooh, humid, hot, steamy, tomahawk chop, Indian putting the spear at midfield, flaming. Can they still do that? That doesn't seem very politically correct. But I think that Seminole tribe gave them the okay to do that. I believe I heard that somewhere.
Look, it's 2025. Anybody can do anything now.
Well, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah. Bama is a 12.5-point favorite.
Wow.
12.5.
Wow.
On the road at Florida State in week 1. How about this one? This is going to be probably the marquee game of the week. LSU is at Clemson in week 1. That's a night game in Death Valley. Which one has the better Death Valley? What about that one? What do you think the spread is?
I say Clemson's a 5.5-point favorite.
2.5.
Wow.
2.5. Watch out for Clemson.
That's basically a pick 'em. That's a pick 'em then because of the home game, right?
That's right. A lot of people are thinking Clemson's a team that could win the national title this year. We'll see. But back to Bama. What do you think their toughest 3-game stretch is? There again, a couple of quality non-conference opponents. I wouldn't say that about ULM, which is a week 2 opponent, but they are at Florida State week 1. Wisconsin coming into Tuscaloosa in week 3. I'm hearing Wisconsin's going to be in the bottom half of the Big Ten. Not going to be a good year for the Badgers. Got a new quarterback coming in as well. So that 3-game stretch, I know it looks a little sexy. They got some helmet games in there. I got to give Byrne credit for scheduling some good non-conference opposition. But that's not the 3-game stretch I think that's going to give Alabama trouble. Where do you see it?
I see it kind of in the middle. Throw that, Gurn, if you throw that back up, there was a stretch I saw. That's, it's interesting that they've got a good stretch there where, I think the season just lays out well. Can you really say there's a 3-game stretch that is just, that is just killer? It's like, you get the first piece, you get the first meet, then you get a bye week. Mm-hmm. And then, you should handle the business. Georgia's going to be, look, nobody cares. Everybody cares, but if Alabama loses to Georgia in Athens, that these days, that's not a end of the world scenario. You lose in Missouri, that's not good. And at, Tennessee and South Carolina, everybody just thinks South Carolina is going to be so great. Maybe they will. I don't know, but somewhere in that middle section. But there's not a 3-game, they've got, this is a really good, I think it's a really good schedule as it lays out.
I'm with you. Here's where I see it. I think the game after Tennessee, they're at South Carolina. It's a 4-game stretch between bye weeks. It's the last of 4 games. They're at Columbia, then LSU, and then Oklahoma. Oklahoma going to be much improved, got a really good quarterback in place. From what we hear, I know it is a little revenge game for as sloppy as Alabama played last year in Norman. But to me, I think South Carolina, they better watch out. Sellers, the quarterback over there, is really gifted. To me, that's the 3-game stretch the Tide needs to keep focused on.
So here's a little history story from the very first game Alabama played when South Carolina joined the SEC. Mrs. Gurn and I went up there to visit friends and went to the game.
1992.
1992. And we're playing, and David Palmer takes a kickoff and runs. He didn't run it all the way back, but he ran 60 yards, but he probably ran 120 yards to go 60 yards.
Sure.
And the loudspeaker guy at the stadium had a hot mic.
Oh.
And in the middle of this, he screams out.
I've had that happen to me before too.
He screams out at the top of his voice, "Get him!" Because nobody could get him. Get him! And the whole stadium erupted. So, and that's a cool stadium. If you've never been,
it is cool.
It's a interesting stadium. It's the layout. It's not on campus. You know, you got the cabooses and all that. And
yep.
For a crappy football program, they really get into football. I mean,
you're right about that. You're and they love to what is that? They like to do the cock crow, cock-a-doodle-doo or whatever they do. They're big into that.
It's just like Alabama. You know, Alabama has that pen of elephants over there. They put the shot collar to get them. It's
like an elephant giving birth sound effect. That thing is ridiculous. I cannot believe they still use that. I got a brush with greatness at that game, Gurn. The 92 Alabama-South Carolina game. It was Carolina's first year into the SEC. Alabama had to travel to Columbia. I was at that game as well. Sat next to Bart Starr.
Really?
How about that?
Fantastic.
The late great Bart Starr.
I had a Bart Starr guy tell me a Bart Starr story the other day, and I probably had 10 people talk about Bart Starr over the years, and every story was with complete reverence. How he was not a normal person. You know, he was so far beyond nice and kind and respectful.
Yep.
That's just amazing for somebody of his level and everything else. So, and accomplishments. So,
of course, played at Sidney Lanier in Montgomery back when it was a school. Now, Chris the Bammer tells me the 92 game is in Tuscaloosa, 93 in Columbia. I don't remember.
That's right. That sounds right, because I was married in 92 and we'd been married about a year. So that's about right. I
don't remember playing South Carolina in Tuscaloosa.
I don't know about that. It's only been 30 plus.
Yeah, I'm with you. But Chris, appreciate the fact check there and the timestamp, if you will. Appreciate
John,
that.
Have you ever let the facts get in the way of a good story?
Not until I'm corrected. You know, my theory has always been I'm right until I'm wrong, which drives Barry crazy. He doesn't like that philosophy. You know, I'll say something. Well, Barry, until somebody tells me I'm wrong, I'm going with it. You know, I used to submit a lot of tests that way. Hey, you know, I'm going with this until they tell me I'm wrong, which, you know, usually when I got that 48 grade back, I found out quickly that
I've always heard your income tax return was your first offer.
Possibly could be. Hey, who was the best athlete in the SEC over the last 25 years?
Oh, there's no doubt. 25. Oh, that's since we were out. 25 years. 2000
to current day, over the last 25 seasons, who is the best athlete, whatever sport, in the SEC?
I mean, gosh, I can't, think about who in football, who was the most dominant. We had, in our day, we had Bo and Herschel and people like that. But, remember Derrick Henry, to me, you knew he was getting the ball. I mean, you knew he was getting the ball and you couldn't stop it. And he, to me, he's probably the most dominant as far as
he's pretty dominant. The Athletic did a series. It's that time of year they do stuff like this. Sports news outlets are doing stuff like this throughout the month of May. Cam Newton was number one. And for $180,000, Gurn, that's the best money that could have ever been spent. Number one athlete over the last 25 years, took Auburn to a national title. Hard to argue. He was one of the most electric, one of the best athletes I've ever seen. Reggie Bush came in at number two from from Southern Cal. Those two are pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think people might forget about Cam because that was 15 years ago.
Right.
Reggie Bush was further than that. Lamar Jackson's on the list. Obviously, he's done incredible things in the NFL still today. Vince Young of Texas. Tim Tebow was in the top 10 at number 8. Of course, with his great years at Florida, did some great things there. The first Alabama player on this list is Devontae Smith at 13. What do you think about that?
No, he was, athletic, yes. All around athletes, but you got to, and you're talking about just football or all athletics? And
just football. Just football in this poll,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure LSU probably had some of those players.
Joe
too.
Burrow, Joe Burrow was on there. Tyrann Mathieu was on there. Derrick Henry was not on this list.
Interesting.
That surprised me. Brock Bowers from Georgia was on the list. Jaden Daniels, who was at LSU, was on the list. He was also at Arizona State as well. For as many national titles as Alabama won, I'm surprised they only got one player in this top 25 list in the past 25 years, and that's Devontae Smith.
Yeah, well,
that's pretty amazing. It kind of reminds you back in the days under Bryant when they didn't have any Heisman Trophy winners, but were winning all those national titles.
That's right.
Maybe the same type thing there, but yeah, Cam Newton, number one, hard to argue with that because who was better or who was more electrifying? Was it Cam Newton or was it oh wow, I've forgotten the other quarterback at Auburn under Malzahn. Was actually the defensive back, they turned him into a quarterback.
Right. Franklin.
Franklin? No. I'm looking at him. Went on to play in the. Yes, Nick Marshall. To me, that guy was scarier than Cam.
Yeah.
You knew what Cam was going to do. You couldn't stop it. You just didn't know what Nick Marshall was going to do. That guy, to me, was scarier for defense. And Alabama will tell you all about that. Heck, they were. Before we let you go, Gurn, what did we miss? What is there a topic?
I think that's it. All good. All right. Well, all right. I'm going to mention something. I see you got Will coming on in a second.
Yeah.
We have, and I don't know if Gurn Jr. can put it up on the screen, but yeah, here it is. We have a big event coming up in Greenville on June 6th, the Big C event. And hey, big man.
Yeah.
We have raised over $300,000 for scholarships at the University of Alabama in Big C's honor, and that number keeps going up. And we're excited about it. Had a big field last year. It's a great event. Look, there are a lot of 4-player scrambles and things like that. You see them all the time. RTJ does a great job of putting this on and having it. What makes this one extra special is there is a party afterwards, and it comes with it comes with your entry fee. They've got barbecue, crawfish, oysters, beer. It is fantastic, and you'll see a lot of the old players come. We probably have anywhere from 10 to 20, 1970s Alabama players come. They're very supportive of this. Still supportive of Big C. And for another day, John, you and we're going to get Big C on.
Well, I was about to say, we have got to get Big C on the program. I know he's busy in the morning, but I've played in this event as well. It's down at Cambrian Ridge on the trail. I know they do a great job hosting that event, Brian Reynolds and the crew. But, I've said it forever, Gurn. Big C should run for governor because it's all about name recognition, and everybody.
You think Tommy Tuberville would just win on his name? Big C would win out. Now we'd have to keep him away from the media.
True.
He sometimes will throw some bombs in there that you got to be careful about. But I'll leave you with this.
The thing about it is, you know what you're getting in Big C. There's no hiding. You know what you're going to get.
I'll leave you with this. Is there anyone more iconic in Alabama football since Bear Bryant and Nick Saban than Big C? I mean, seriously, you think about it. Gene Stallings, but you take those three off the table.
Yeah.
Ask anybody in the state of Alabama that's over 45 years old, do you know who Big C is? And they'll say absolutely. And they'll tell you where they saw him, where, what he's meant to them and things like that. So, no,
well,
I'll leave you with that.
But, the vivid memory of Big C is in the Louisiana Superdome, Bama versus Penn State, national title on the line. And Big C's got maybe 2 footballs under each arm, a bunch of tearaway jerseys around his waist, standing on about the 5-yard line as Alabama tackles Mike Gooman on the last play on that 4th and 1.
Memorialized in a Daniel. How many people have been memorialized in a Daniel Moore print that's in every house, every house of everybody over 50 in the state of Alabama?
And there's Big C right there on the sidelines.
Well, sorry to raise this, but we got to exit. We got to exit with the bathroom story, bathtub story.
Oh, well,
are you going to tell it?
Yeah, back in the radio days, Big C would call us up regularly. Loved having Big C come on. And I knew what buttons to push with Big C to really get him going. I mean, if I mentioned Hillary Clinton or something like that, he would just go off. But one day he's talking to us, and I'm hearing some water splashing in the background. And before we wrap up the call, I said, wait a Big C, before we let you go, well, what's up with that water splashing in the background? He goes, taking a bath, big man. I said, wait a minute, Big C, you're in the bathtub? He goes, oh, yeah, I'm in the bathtub. I said, you don't take a shower? He goes, water gets cold before it hits me. Long way for that water to drop.
That's Big C.
That's Big C. Love that.
All right, guys.
All right, thanks for hopping on. We
next time.
Yeah, we'll do it, no doubt. I probably got to need to take a commercial break. Our man Will Fisher standing by in the green room. Got to get his thoughts about what happened at Quail Hollow last week. Some other golf news as well. I got a Tennessee football question I want to ask Will as well when he comes on, but need to take a quick break. Let's do it. It is Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Make sure you load up with plenty of Bud Light for this upcoming Memorial Day holiday weekend. Back with more right after this. Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
The following is a message from the Bud Light Party.
This Memorial Day, America will be using 82 metric tons of sunscreen. And around 2 p.m., Uncle Dave's going to ask you to help him reapply. So make sure you're holding on to an ice-cold Bud Light, because holding on to a beer might be the only thing saving you from a palm full of back hairs. This message approved by the Bud Light Party. Raise one to right now. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150, with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars. Okay, welcome back in, everybody. About 25 minutes to the top of the hour. Our friend Will Fisher is the director of golf at Capitol Hill on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail. He joins us here this morning. We got a lot to catch up on. And Will, thanks for joining us here today. Hope you're doing well, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Having a great week. And, I hate that Barry's not here. I'm sure he's down at the stadium getting ready for the baseball games, right? Hoping maybe go and attend a couple of games this weekend. As I've said before, Sunbelt baseball is some of the best in the country.
It is, man. It's great. And certainly Montgomery, so fortunate to host this event for many years now. And all these Sunbelt teams and fan bases coming into the capital city and enjoying Riverwalk Stadium. And I got to think some of those fans are bringing their golf clubs and heading up to Capitol Hill as well to take in a couple of rounds in between games. So, yeah, it's a win-win for everybody. Before we get into it, and I know we're running a little behind today, but I got to get this out of the way because we usually do it around 20 after the hour. So I'll let you be a part of the Phantom's Daily Dawg today. People are asking what happened with the Dawg last night. Well, I don't know if you've been keeping up with it, but going into last night, the Phantom had hit 12 out of his last 15 against the spread in the Phantom's Daily Dawg. We lost last night. We lost. Got to tell you. So we're 12-16 going into the night. And the thing about last night, we had the Timberwolves catching 7.5 in that game last night. They were leading at halftime.
They were.
They had a halftime. They had a halftime lead. It was 48-44 at halftime. T-Wolves are winning, catching 7.5. Will, they didn't come out of the locker room after that. Completely blown out in the second half, losing the game 114-88. Hey, it happens, folks. It happens. But that was then. This is now. Tonight's Daily Dawg for the Phantom. We're going back to the NBA, the Eastern Conference Finals, 7 p.m. TNT. We're taking the Indiana Pacers, who are hot, at New York, at the Knicks. They're hot too. Got to give them credit. But I love the 5. I'm taking the Pacers and the 5. Knicks might win the game, but I'm taking the 5 and the Indiana Pacers. That is today's Phantom Daily Dawg. Pacers plus 5 at the Knicks. Okay. Got that? Any comment on that, Will? Any feeling one way or the other?
I do. I like it. The Pacers are white hot. I wouldn't have – I hate that Jason Tatum got hurt. I would like to have seen that series with New York and Boston. Have Jason there for all the games. But, listen, it's awesome. There's nothing better in NBA basketball than to have a Eastern Conference finals game or a finals conference or a finals game in Madison Square Garden. So it's been a long time since that's taken place in Madison Square Garden. So I'm excited to watch it. And we'll see if Halliburton and the boys can pull off the upset.
Well, I will say this, Will. I know NBA basketball is not on the top of a lot of people's minds around here, particularly in the regular season, but I've always enjoyed it. To me, it's kind of like you got to go it's like NASCAR. I didn't really know anything about NASCAR. Once I went and sit there on the start finish line, I went, wow, this is pretty cool. It doesn't translate to TV well. I don't think the NBA does as well. But once you go to a game and sit close to the floor and see these guys pushing and shoving and cussing and screaming, and just the athletic ability of these guys, it is pretty amazing. And then in the playoffs, they let them play.
Yeah.
These refs are letting them play a little bit. And I will say I do like a little the physical aspect. And I've been accused, Will, I don't get physical on the golf course, but I have been accused of getting the lip wedge out a lot, and, kind of maybe, I don't know, getting underneath my opponent's skin verbally instead of physically.
Well, my question was going to be, I know the club championship was this weekend, and I know you guys got rained out on Saturday. I hate that for you. But Sunday was a one and done, winner take all kind of deal. I certainly heard how that finished. We had a couple of the participants here yesterday with the Makoa tournament out on the back veranda, and I asked the innocent question, who won? And there was a little bit of jabbing going between Mr. Green and Mr. Brunson, and so we had a little fun with that. But I will say, my question for you today was, do you deploy or put into play the Mark Rake that Club Pro guy put out a couple weeks ago as a way to help improve your status in a net type of event?
I thought that he was very, and real quick before I answer that, Will, I'm glad you brought that up.
We understand.
I'm going to answer that question because I think that was a very good one from Club Pro guy. But I will say this about the club championship. I want to give a shout out to my, I guess, great nephew, my nephew's son, who is 8 years old, won the 12 and under in the club championship. He beat a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old and won it as an 8-year-old. So congratulations to Parks Brindle, who is the 12 and under club champ. How about that?
Pretty strong. And at 8, he could have a Tiger Woods-esque type run between the junior am and the amateur. Being at 8, he's got some time to defend his place. Certainly wish him all the best as he moves forward and grows with the game. Hopefully he can continue to defend that title. Be kind of nice to be able to put that up in the bedroom. I'll say that.
I would say so. And the one thing, and I will I'll leave it at this. What impresses me about this young man is when I was that age, Will, and I see so many other kids doing the same thing, all they want to do is bomb that driver. They want to go out to the range and just bomb it. But this young man spends a lot of time chipping and putting. I don't know if I don't know if his daddy told him that or what, but he loves to chip and putt. And I tell him, I said, hey, man,
listen,
this is where you're going to improve your game right there.
Well, absolutely. And let me tell you, as an uncle myself, I expect that Uncle Longshore will step in and explain when to press and when not to press at the appropriate time.
Correct.
As a veteran himself of those types of things, that I certainly would expect that he would pass that on. Just to, if nothing more, just to protect the family name and make sure he understands, when to press and when not.
Well, I put up the same diagram that Club Pro guy put up when he was instructing that young man.
Yeah.
How does the bet stand when we go through these first 9 holes? And the guy's going even one down, +1, even +1, -2. At the end of 9 holes, he was down $140. And Club Pro says, what do you do on the 10th tee? Press.
That's right.
And my little nephew do the same thing. You got to press. Love it. Awesome. To answer your question, see, Will, I play with a group that is, how do I put it? Somewhat liberal with the gimme range. Like one of those that just goes by a little bit too far, and then they just go ahead and rake it. And I'm going, whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, what's up with that? So that irritates me. Don't be raking it unless I give it to you.
Right.
I'm not a raker. I don't like
you keep, you get past a foot, there's no raking after that. You know, if you don't know what a foot looks like, you need to go learn, because you start raking 3-footers, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have to have a conversation about it. We're not. I don't give 3-footers, and I hope you don't either. You know, there's been a lot of tournaments, professionally and amateurly, have been decided by the 3-foot putt that has been lipped out, and so. You know, listen, you can't. Yeah, we're no raking putts past a foot. And listen, I'm gonna tell you, I thought it was a great exhibition of how to improve your game. You know, there's certainly, I think he's spot on. You're obviously going to be paying attention to the guy that's putting, and while he's doing that, you go ahead and take advantage of the time where you're not on the hot seat, so to speak, and it's not your turn. And you know. I played at golf in high school with a kid that liked to do. I don't know if you ever saw the coin flip, and would pick it up and would set it, spot it behind his ball, pick his ball up and rake, and then he'd come back, and while you weren't looking, he'd flip the coin, just a little flip of the thumb, is all you needed. And next thing you know, he's a foot closer than he was, and so. I don't know if maybe he attended Club Pro Guys junior camp, and that's where he picked it up. I don't know. The other exciting thing for me was to see that we do now have a little bit of a practice area at 3 Jack National, something that you can work on your game a little bit. So it's exciting because that just goes to show you that they are making some advancements, and hopefully get ready for that facility to open up soon.
What type of turf was that Miggy put down there in that practice area at 3 Jack? I tried to get a close-up of it, but, this guy is a magician when it comes to turf.
Yeah, I'm going to go with either Wiregrass or Bahia. I don't really know. I don't know that it's meant to be cut that close, but hey, listen, great playing conditions and great playing surfaces is something that you should expect at 3 Jack National.
Yeah. Now, I will say this, Will. I would have probably illustrated and demonstrated grip pressure a little differently than Club Pro Guy did. And I'm a big believer, particularly when it comes to putting. I was taught you hold a putter and the grip pressure should be about what you do to squeeze toothpaste out of a tube of toothpaste. That's about how you want to grip it. So I've always used that philosophy. His teaching methods, a little unorthodox for me.
Yeah, I think it's some good information. I think you definitely need to be a little bit aware of the environment and where you share that information. Some environments may be better than others. But listen, you're talking about a former professional player. He's got a lot of good information. Certainly appreciate him sharing that information with golfers all over the country. So, it's just great to see him back in action.
Oh boy!
I was asked if I had subscribed to him and to the Learning Center. I have not yet, but that may change here shortly. You got to be able to keep up with as much information as you can in any kind of tactics or any kind of information that makes me a better player. I don't play in a lot of net events.
But
hey, you never know when that may change.
Well, and then you get updated on the Mexican mini tour and what's going on there too. So you'll definitely know all about that. So I did subscribe. I'm telling you, it's well worth it. ClubProGuy.com. All right, now I'm on to more serious golf. Not to say that isn't serious. What about Scotty Scheffler at the PGA? Just kind of lurking back there in the first couple of rounds, has a phenomenal round on Saturday, takes care of business on Sunday. Beautiful golf course. I've never seen it in person, but man, on television, it looks just gorgeous. But when you saw Scotty starting to make that move, you're kind of like, man, I've seen this before. Here it comes.
Yeah, to have what a gutsy performance to have him hit it as crooked as he hit it off the tee on that front nine, and then just it does kind of remind you of a Tiger Woods where he gets to the back nine and he looks at the scoreboard on 10 tee box, and it's just it's almost like he flipped a switch and hit his driver great on the back nine. Made a lot of obviously one of the best iron players that we've probably seen, if not the best iron player since Tiger. and made some really good putts. And I'm not surprised. I hate it that some of the guys didn't play the green mile better coming down. I mean, Rahm really had a chance to put some real pressure on him. And listen, everybody can say what you want. I mean, there's a couple of guys that I'm not a fan of in golf. Brandon Chambly is at the very tippity top of that list. And so,
do you know if you ever met anybody else named Brandel ever in your life?
Well, and a guy that thinks that he was one of the world's greatest players of all time, the way he talks is, I don't know.
We've got a mutual friend that played Brandel in a junior tournament many, many, many years ago, and he tells me he was still the same way back then.
Well, honestly, there's no surprise there for me. But listen, you can say what you want about Liv. I don't think it's a Liv thing. I think John just mentally, I think he said it in his press conference when he came off the golf course. Am I disappointed? Absolutely, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to go back and work a little harder and try to get a little bit better for the next time I have an opportunity. I don't think it has anything to do with Liv. I mean, I understand people trying to draw those comparisons or those connect those dots, but I don't think it does. And to be honest with you, I would be shocked if you don't see John play really well in the next two coming up. He's hitting it really well. He's playing well. And so I think you'll see him play well at the U.S. Open. And he's won one of those. And I've always thought, that John has some really, he's got the game that he could compete at a British. I think he is much better at flighting the ball than most people think. But that being said, I mean, for Scotty to continue to look at the leaderboard, you had to think that he was paying some attention when Rahm was within a shot of him, and just to keep his foot on the gas and just make another couple of birdies coming in. I think he birdied 14 and he birdied 15 coming in before he got to the green mile. And that's how you can tell he's different than everybody else, in my opinion.
No doubt. Well said. Couldn't agree more. I just different. He is different, and he's different good. There's no doubt. With the Memorial Day holiday weekend coming up, it's extended weekend, plenty of time for folks to come up and see you, to play golf, to practice. Do we have maybe some demo days this weekend, Memorial Day?
Hey, buddy, don't you know it? So we've got one on Friday, which is Callaway Golf. That'll be go onto the website for Callaway Golf. You can sign up there. If you have trouble finding it, give us a call. We can get you signed up. But we also have PXG coming up on the 30th as well of the month. So May is a big demo month for us, as you know. What we have done is we used to do the big demo day where multiple vendors would come and do you would kind of walk the line and test all the equipment. We've changed that a little bit because we want people, if they're coming and they're serious about buying, we want them to be able to do that and be uninterrupted. So we do more of the appointment-based type of deals. Saturday we have Cobra. They are 9 to 2. 10 to 2. So if you want to come out and take a look at the new Cobra items, there is some. Cobra is the first company come to market other than whoever Bryson works with 3D printed set of irons. I've hit a couple of them. They're unbelievable, very lightweight, really, really good iron. And their Adapt driver that is out this year, I think is one of the best. It's a really different game changer. They can make the driver change different, deals, different lofts, different line angles without changing the face. So in other words, if you buy a TaylorMade or Cobra drive or TaylorMade or Callaway driver, if you want to de-loft it, right, it actually opens the face to de-loft it. They're not independent of each other. We can get technical in the weeds,
sure.
But Cobra has figured out how to do that without changing the face, without having to be opened or closed. And so that's a big deal for if you have, if you're like me, I fight a draw, a big draw, or you can call it snap hook, whichever you prefer. But in that scenario, I can now increase the loft or de-loft the club without changing the face angle, without making it more closed or more open. So that's kind of nice. It's a neat deal. And listen, talking about Cobra, Max Homa, I think, is also getting ready to really put a little run together. Max has been struggling with his swing. He's changed coaches a little bit, trying to improve. I think he's kind of going back to where he has started and just said, this is what feels comfortable to me. And the guy that he's working with now is like, all right, well, let's take this and make it better. And I think that's why you saw Max play really well this week as well. I know he had a really rough day on Saturday, but I think you're going to see Max put a little run together as well.
Max Home, I got to put him on my list of some upcoming events. All right, so to be involved in these demo days or just to get your group together over the Memorial Day holiday, tee times, all the information, everything in your golf shop from apparel to equipment, the best thing to do is just come up and see you, but I know you can go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill, or what's that phone number into the pro shop?
Yeah, they give us a call, 334-285-1114. We're glad to help you with anything that you have, any questions that you have. And if you haven't gotten your trail card, you got to get your trail card.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to come out to a demo day and buy a driver, you're going to get a point for every dollar you spend. At 500 points, you get a free round. Well, there ain't a driver on the market worth having that's under five. That's not more than $500. Every one of them is $600-700. I don't agree with it, but that's just what it is right now. And so you come out, say you want a driver, you come out, you get fit, buy a driver, you're going to earn yourself a free round of golf, which is hard to do too.
Oh, it's a great deal there.
Yeah.
So many great deals on the trail and, of course, Capitol Hill right here in our own backyard. Will Fisher is the director of golf. Will, we really appreciate you hopping on with us today. I know we went a little long, but it's always a lot of fun, and we always enjoy talking with you. We'll do it again real soon.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Y'all have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
You too, buddy. Thank you so much, Will Fisher, director of golf at RTJ. If it's okay with Gurn Jr., we need to take another quick break. We're going to come back and spin the wheel. I know Chris is chomping at the bit. If Gurn has got the time, we'll extend the show a little bit into the next hour so we can go through the wheel. I know he's put this together, so we certainly want to be able to go through it today. But so if that's okay, we'll take a break, come back, spin the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. Gurn Jr.'s put it together. We'll get that going when we return. It is Wednesday with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Make sure you stock up on plenty of Bud Light for this upcoming Memorial Day holiday weekend. We'll be right back. Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News and yellowhammernews.com. Dixie Electric Plumbing and Air rallies for you. No matter the problem, Dixie will tackle it. They're licensed and trusted electricians, plumbers, air and garage door technicians are ready to win for you. From toilets to garbage disposals, circuit breakers to HVAC systems, Dixie never fumbles. Don't throw away your hard-earned money on second-string contracting companies. Score big with Dixie. After all, they are your biggest fan. Visit calldixie.com or dial them up locally at 262-2946. You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River Region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
Okay, a couple of minutes at the top of the hour. We're going to move past the top of the hour because Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland 777 topic wheel is loaded. I see it in the box below me here today. So we can put that up on the screen. We can get that thing spinning, and we can see what we've got on the wheel today. Man, you can tell the WD-40's on the wheel. It is spinning around, and it lands on the green slot, which is Weenie 500. Is this the Oscar Mayer Weenie Mobile? Oh, look at that. Oscar Mayer Wiener Mobile to race on the oval ahead of the Indy 500. How many folks have seen the Weenie Mobile? I think it was in Montgomery not too long ago, but the hot dog shaped vehicle is going to I guess race this weekend, tomorrow, Friday, before the legendary Indianapolis 500 kicks off. It's on Sunday. The Weenie Mobiles are going to take a lap or two around the famous Indianapolis 500. Now, I got to admit, I have nothing against Oscar Mayer. I think they make great hot dogs and lunch meats and bacon. But I got to tell you, when we got hooked up with the Johnsonville brat folks years ago, I'm a brat guy. I don't know what it is about a brat. I just think they're better than a hot dog. I'm just saying. And if I go down to Riverwalk Stadium, I always go with the brat. We eat them here at the Phantom household. So good for Oscar Mayer, the Oscar Mayer Weenie Mobile. It was in town not too long ago. It doesn't seem very safe to drive on a public street. Who knows? All right, let's put it up again and spin the Victoryland 777 topic wheel yet again. I believe there are 3 more topics on the wheel. We will spin it. 3 panels to go, and it's going to land on one word. One word. The title, I want to describe each of the last 4 teams standing in the NBA playoffs. And that one word is, every team. All right, the Knicks are thirsty. All right, I'm going to agree with that because I've followed the Knicks through the playoff run. That series with the Celtics was phenomenal. This team is thirsty. You can tell. They're a little bit more eager. The Indiana Pacers, plucky. I'm not real sure what the definition of plucky is. Plucky. I like the way it sounds. Did the Pacers take advantage of key injuries suffered from Milwaukee and Cleveland in the first and second round? Fair enough. Still, the Knicks will be foolish to believe Indy can't beat a healthy team. You could call them lucky, but also label them plucky. Okay. All right. Minnesota hot. We talked about this as well. Now, they were hot at halftime last night against OKC, but man, they got ice cold in the second half, costing the Phantom a cover last night. But I still like this Timberwolves team. I still think they can take this series to 7 games. More on that in game 2 probably tomorrow. In Oklahoma City, they are relentless. They are young. They are feisty. They are good. And they're a team a lot of people have not heard about. So OKC, fun to watch. Do you like NBA teams that have logos on their jerseys? OKC has the Love's Truck Stop, which I believe is based in Oklahoma, on their jerseys. Do we need that in a professional sport? I know the NFL does it during preseason camp. Are we going to see that on college uniforms? I've asked that question before. You head into Bryant-Denny or Jordan-Hare, and you got Golden Flake on the Bama jersey. You got Yellowwood on the Auburn jersey. You think that's coming? Yeah, it is. So get ready. All right, let's spin the wheel, Gurn, and see what else we got. 2 more to go. Bonus time here today on Longshore McKnight. It's going, this might be going to be green. And it is green is air taxis. Wait a minute. Ooh, the 2028 Olympics will have air taxis. Now, wait a minute. What is all this about? Are those drones or actual helicopters? Man, okay. Looks like it will be for the Paralympic Games. Yeah, for the Olympic and the Paralympic, because the Paralympics are always the week after the Olympics. They will serve routes. It will be showcased robo taxi tech. All right, I'm in. Look, LA is a difficult place to get around on the highways and the interstate systems. There's SoFi Stadium there with those air taxis. Look, LA, Southern California, they're going to debut and develop new stuff. They want to stand out in the crowd, and this is something they're going to use. I'm in. Now, my first question, are they going to have enough air traffic controllers? We got an issue in Newark. I don't believe there's one in LA yet, but there is a lot of congested airspace in Southern California. LAX, Orange County, Burbank. Whew, better watch what you're doing there with those helicopters. All right, one more to go here on the program, and we got to spin it to make it official. One more panel left. It is blue. It is the Victoryland 777 topic wheel. You can be a winner too. And this one is ejected. Looks like somebody got ejected. Was it a baseball?
Yeah.
Oh, here you go.
Weighted ball program as Lindor gets hit by the pitch. Similar to the weighted bat program to increase bat speed, but the weighted ball program.
Lindor takes off for second. The throw by Narvaez not in time. Lindor got a nice walking lead, steals his 7th of the year.
Did he call that a ball? That was a strike, and that's the catcher popping up. Stand.
And now Buehler.
Oh, here we go.
Out of the game. Walker Buehler was upset about the Lindor hit by pitch, and then more upset that a strike was not called on the stolen base. And he went after home plate umpire Mike Esterbrook, and he's just been ejected from the game.
Oh, beautiful. Love it. And if they had more of that going
Alex
on.
is trying to say, listen, we're trying to get this guy on the mound and get him healthy. But you cannot argue balls and strikes.
I'm going to throw out Alex.
Man, this ump's got a short fuse.
I think he just did.
He just did.
And this is early in the game. This is top of the third.
Where's Laz Diaz? Laz Diaz is the crew chief. He's trying to calm Alex.
Oh, this is awesome. You know, the great thing about this, after all of this, the Red Sox still went on to win the game 2-0. Phantom should have had that game last night. He had the Red Sox on Monday night. Probably should have taken them again last night as well. Now, instead of watching guys go to the mound and the catcher and the pitcher talking and the pitching change, guy coming in from the bullpen, that's what I'd rather see. I want to see the manager getting into it with the umps. I want a player getting the heave-ho. That catches my attention at a game. Just saying. Good pull there, Gurn. Great stuff on the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel, sponsored by our good friends at Victoryland, where you can be a winner too. Exit 22 off I-85 in Shorter, Alabama. All right, a little long today, some bonus coverage. It has been a great show today. Looking forward to having Barry back tomorrow. Thanks to Mike Griffith from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution Dawg Nation, an extended interview with Griff. That was always a lot of fun. Will Fisher from RTJ Golf Capitol Hill as well. Tomorrow, we will check in with Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, at the bottom of hour number 1. Kicking off hour number 2 is Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market, the freshest seafood delivered directly from the Gulf of America multiple times during the week. The freshest seafood available right here in Montgomery and the entire river region at the Destin Connection Seafood Market, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Call ahead. Your order will be ready for pickup, 288-4272. Also tomorrow, Brian Reynolds at Cambria Ridge on the RTJ Trail. He'll give us a little quick update about what's happening down there. Of course, the Big C tournament coming up, as we talked about earlier on the show, down there. And we'll give you more information if you'd like to get a group together to be involved in that. It's a ton of fun. I've played in that event many a times. It's a great, great outing. A lot of other great things we'll get into tomorrow as well. So we look forward to you being a part of what we do here. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Really appreciate that. Helps out with the algorithm, as they say. You can always check us out at yellowhammernews.com. You can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, X, Spotify, Instagram, so many ways to check out what we do here. But we really got to have you hitting that like button and that subscribe button. It really helps us out a lot. It gives you all the notifications. You won't miss a thing. All right, for Bear McKnight and Gurn Jr. back at Network Control, I'm John Longshore. Have a great day. Thank you so much, and we will talk again tomorrow.